On pace for 71 goals, and yet nowhere near the odds-on favorite to win the MVP right now. To discuss that, joined by Bryan Hayes in studio and Craig Button from his home office. Matthews is still a long shot at 12-1 odds for MVP. Hayes, you cover the Leafs on a daily basis. What do you think of the lack of love for Matthews for MVP?
I think someone missed an email at FanDuel because I think this is crazy, Gino. He's on pace for 71 goals. Can I repeat that? On pace for 71 goals. To put that into historical reference here, Hockey Reference, a great website, spits out a lot of different stats. They have a combination of stats where they apply era-adjusted goals scored per season. He is on pace, according to Hockey Reference, for a top 3 goal-scoring season all time. Again, to put that into perspective, Alex Ovechkin, in my opinion, the greatest goal scorer of all time. The best season of his career, 07-08, ran away with the Hart that year. He had 65 real goals. Era adjusted this year would be 72. In other words, Auston Matthews is tit for tat with the greatest goal scorer of all time in his greatest season, and Ovi ran away from the Hart. So am I sitting here today saying that Matthews should be definitively number one? No, but 12-1? I think that's crazy.
Well, one of the things that happens is that we get this kind of conundrum. Is it the best player in the league? Is it the best goal scorer? Is it the most valuable player to his team? I mean, there's a lot of talk about the season that Kucherov is having. I mean, he could score 50 goals on a heater for sure. And if his team doesn't make the playoffs somehow, maybe that player shouldn't be considered for the MVP. I don't think anybody questions that Auston Matthews is a Hart Trophy candidate. But there's a lot of Hart Trophy candidates. So you can look to Quinn Hughes, you can look to Nathan McKinnon, Connor Hellebuck, Connor McDavid, Auston Matthews. The number is large this year, the quantity. So I don't know how FanDuel comes up with their odds. Certainly, Auston Matthews is going to have to be considered for the MVP, but there are a lot of candidates that are right there and ahead of him at this point in time. When you take the literal definition, most valuable player to his team, not best player or best goal scorer in the league.
All right, I asked the question on TikTok earlier today, and it got some people really fired up. So I want to ask you guys the same thing. If you were in overtime, Game 7 Stanley Cup Final today, and you could have any goal scorer in the history of the league in his prime, not the best player in the league, but the best goal scorer in his prime, who would you take to give you the best chance of scoring that winning goal?
I'm going to go with Mario Lemieux on this. I was born in 1983. The coolest goal of my lifetime, 1987, Gretzky to Lemieux, top shelf.
I was at that game.
You were at that game. You're at basically every game. Every Leaf game you're at, Gino. 87, you're there at Cops Coliseum. Gino's everywhere. But for me, it's Mario Lemieux, the definition of clutch. Obviously, all he did was score goals, put up points. The magnificent Mario. I'm going with Mario Lemieux.
Well, the camera kept finding Gino at the last Maple Leafs game. He was all over there signing autographs, eating ice cream. It was an unbelievable sight. So you're talking about right today. So you just mentioned, Brian, about era adjusted. I'm going right today. The best goal scorer in the game right today is Auston Matthews. He would score on any goaltender in any era prior to him. And if I had to pick any goal scorer, and I could say era adjusted, he was up to today's standards in terms of physical ability, stick, and everything, I would pick Mike Bossy. But I don't think Mike Bossy could score on today's goaltenders. I know Auston Matthews can.
Yeah, and listen, for the record, I absolutely was at that game. I was right up against the glass, much to my chagrin. I had the bad mustache, and that now lives in infamy.